Sausage.
Hello, and welcome to Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, that's me. That's my new thing. You like it? I don't like it either, but I think it's gonna stick. But the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their oh God. It tries to not die on camera while recording the podcast, but also tries to get through their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Golf Story, a game where you play golf and go on a journey that has a story, thus Golf Story. I have been interested in this game for a while because I remember hearing a lot of great things about it, and it just never felt like the right time. So when I was trying to think of what to play next, having beaten Kenna, I was at a loss. I wasn't sure if I wanted to play something big and meaty or another small game. Did I want to stick with the same genre? I feel a little obligated for no good reason to switch things up, no pun intended. So when I was perusing my Xbox library, the handful of groups I put together, making a short long list of candidates, I saw a few ones that piqued my interest. And then I went on my PlayStation 5, did the same thing, and then I went on the Switch. And when I looked through that group, I saw Golf Story. And I said to myself, why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? And that became more than answer enough to the question, what do I play next? And I wanted to switch things up, no pun intended, seriously, with the platform I'm playing on. So while I played everything so far on Xbox, and I primarily play on Xbox, as you know if you've consumed any of my other content, I wanted to play something on either a PlayStation or a Nintendo console. And that's how I got to Golf Story. And here we are, 5-6 hours in, with some thoughts. Maybe not as many thoughts as you might expect, but let us just get to it. I don't like Golf Story. At first, I thought myself in the indifferent camp, in the meh, whatever, forgettable, fine camp of that 5 to 6 space out of 10, where you don't like or love it, but you also don't dislike or hate it. And those games can be good for certain times. They could be good distractions, especially if they lean more towards the 6 range. But they're the worst games to talk about, because when you don't feel strongly either way, what do you feel? Not much. And that's kind of where I was leaning with Golf Story, though I think part of that too was me wanting to feel that way about it. But in reality, I don't like it. And I think I would put it might fall into that 5 range, because that's still not a great score, of course. But I'm also leaning towards 4 because I have found myself quite frustrated with the game when playing it. Not to mention the story not doing a lot for me. The actual act of playing it has been frustrating. Before I get to any of that, again, I have played roughly 5 to 6 hours. I have gotten through a few days and just made my way to Peak or whatever it is, the area with the birds, where you need to do some recon in order to figure out how they're able to make the grass gross, so nice and lovely. So I've gotten through the caveman area, unless there are things to go back and do there later, and done a bit at the home base of whatever it is, Valley, something or other. So that is where I am with the game. First and foremost, since it is such a story-driven game, I know I shouldn't be surprised by how much story is in it, given the fact that it is called Golf Story. However, it was really, really story-heavy in those first 2 hours or so, where the balance between play, between golf specifically, and story was heavily leaning towards the story side. And that would be fine if the story was well written and engaging, funny if it wanted to be funny, or dramatic if it wanted to be dramatic. It's clearly trying to be on the cheekier, funnier side, and I don't think a lot of it lands. I forgot to look this up, but it's clear that either, because I'm not sure if this was made by a Japanese company, for instance, and then was localized, or was made in a British developer, but the writing is clearly has that British, I don't want to say wit to it, but it's clearly not American English in terms of the writing and some of the word usage and some of the humor. And I don't have a problem with that. I love a lot of British humor. One of my favorite TV shows of all time is Father Ted. I think that show is brilliant, underrated, underappreciated, forgotten, and I wish more people saw it, because the cows here are very small, but the cows outside are far away.
Okay, one last time. These are small, but the ones out there are far away.
Gems like that and so much more on Father Ted. My lovely horse indeed. Yeah, I was going to make a horse sound, and then I was like, what am I doing here? We should just watch Father Ted instead of talking about Golf Story. But the story part of Golf Story wasn't doing anything for me. So it made that initial play a slog. It made it hard to get through, where I was just reading and occasionally playing, but not even really playing, just doing these very basic hit the ball in the circle. All right? No difficulty here, really. Super simple. Just press the button a few times. Don't move it around. Don't worry about wind or any of that jazz. And just let's give you some more story. But eventually it changes and you do get story, or you get gameplay, you get golf. And this is where the second problem comes in, and it's the bigger problem. I don't love the way it controls. Specifically, I don't like the fact that both moving your shot where you want it to land and switching your clubs are both mapped to the left analog stick. Which means in order to switch your clubs, I forget which one it is, left or right or up or down, one or the other does the club switching and the other does the movement of where you're going to hit your shot. Why this is an issue is because many a times I ended up accidentally switching clubs when I just wanted to move, because it's super sensitive and super annoying. It made playing the game very frustrating. And it bummed me out, because overall the playing of it is super simple, super basic, very reminiscent of golf on NES, which I was a big fan of. But that one issue made it, and continues making it, hard to truly enjoy playing the game. There are other things that are bugging me about the play. Sometimes they don't do a good job, specifically on challenges, of showing you where exactly the hole is, or the circle is you're trying to hit, it won't go out there. It's just, what are we doing here? And they don't always give you camera movement with the right analog stick to get a better view of where everything is and your surroundings. The wind seems like it'll be a factor maybe later down the road when you are dealing with 20 and 30 mile per hour winds, but when it's just anything below 10, it's basically a worthless statistic that doesn't need to be there. Gameplay in general is pretty easy so far. I'm curious how that'll increase, if it will increase. The little missions and tasks they have you doing are all these very annoying things that aren't fun. There are so many challenges that are just, here's a target, hit the ball in the target. And that gets old real fast. And I know this game is longer than you would expect. So if I have to keep doing that throughout the entire playthrough, I'm going to get real annoyed. And I'm already kind of annoyed. So I don't want to get real annoyed.
You're making me angry. Oh, am I?
And it's all just been a bummer so far. I'm not sure if why this game was so well received was because it came out early in the Switch's life and there just wasn't a lot to play. But in what I've played so far, excuse me, I am shocked by how many people like this and how popular it was. I just don't get it. This is an example of me playing a game feeling like I'm playing something else, something that everyone else didn't play. As if they updated it and made it bad when it used to be good. So that is where I am currently. Not loving the gameplay, not loving the story, and I in no way expect things to change because I don't see how the story could suddenly get better, and I don't see how the gameplay could get better because my main issue with it is the fact that these two very different actions are mapped to the same button, and I don't believe you can change them. So that is where I currently am with Golf Story, and yeah, I don't want to ramble on and waste any time. I'll just keep this episode short. So that will do it for this year episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Mark Kuznez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, some fancy Discord roles, a private Discord channel, some random drops on the Patreon as well, and more. Or you could just support me if that is your fancy. But that is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at Patreon. That's not right. pxsausage.com. That's right. pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have just have a wonderful day whenever you happen to be listening or watching this. But for now, adios, arrivederci.